So, what do you think?
What? Hey, what's up, party people? Ah, what the hell are these things? Curtains or something? Boring! Holy smoke, it's crowded in here.
Okay, the Canadian government wants to control more of what you do, what you think, and now what you consume. If it has its way, this is serious. Red Bull and other caffeinated drinks will not be sold in corner stores and gas stations, but only under license in pharmacies. Now, you may not have heard of him. He hasn't done TV before, but a friend of mine, Ezra Levant, he drinks 30 Red Bulls a day, which explains a great deal. How are you?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to be on the show. You know, I'm just a simple boy from the prairies, but when I see the government trying to legislate Red Bull, I just think, you know, have we solved all of the world's problems? Has everything less important being cleared off of the government's desk, that we absolutely have to deal with this? Oh, it's frustrating me, Michael. I mean, I enjoy Red Bull because it's like, you know, 2 cups of coffee, 3 cups of coffee in one. But do we really need a coffee police? I mean,
these are your friends. Your Tory friends in Ottawa now. What are they doing?
There's a gene in this Conservative Party. A few years ago, they set up a salt task force. What's a salt task force? It's a task force looking into salt, that you and I maybe have a little too much salt in our food. Good heavens. I mean, I think that the ideal situation is a libertarian world where we conduct ourselves as conservatives. That is, where we always make the choice to restrain ourselves from overindulgence, but we'd be given that choice. If you're forced to be moral, if you're forced to eat a certain diet and always do the right things, it's not actually an expression of morality because you didn't have free choice in the matter. The whole essence of being a good person is that you could actually at any time choose to be a bad person, but we constantly are being a moral agent.
Well, so there's a very obvious consensus around certain issues. Most people would agree you drive on one side of the road, and obviously there are certain laws that tend to come from those horrible things called the 10 Commandments that we do and don't do. But even practically speaking, gambling, drinking, rates are getting worse, if anything, not better at all, with massive state intervention.
Yeah, that's a great point. And of course, as soon as you ban something, you put a bit of an exotic mystique to it. I mean, let me say, it certainly applies to banned words. Oh, these words are so dangerous. I mean, I remember being a kid, it wasn't that long ago, when just the idea of getting a beer was so naughty. And you know, Americans, because they're not allowed to drink usually till the age 21, that infantile adolescence is stretched out, and so you see 20-year-olds behaving like teenagers do up here.
Whereas in France and Italy, for example, where people drink from the age of 13 or 14 in moderation, there's very little youth alcoholism.
You know what, the funny thing to me is so many health ministers that push this stuff, and I shouldn't point fingers.
No, please point fingers. Yes. Fat health ministers of the world, unite.
Well, here's my point, is they're so good at giving advice, aren't they?
Who's the health minister now, by the way?
Well, federally, I think it's Leona Agluka, and she's actually fairly fit.
Okay.
But I remember in my own province of Alberta, when Ralph was the premier guy, liked to drink, liked to smoke a little bit.
Ralph Klein drank?
Just a touch.
Who knew?
And he would like a little nosh. And for governments like that to say, oh, you can't smoke, you can't drink, you can't have a nosh. And the thing is, whatever their particular fancy is the one that seems to be exempted. I mean, God forbid you should take cheesecake out of the parliamentary dining room. I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of eating in the parliamentary dining room on the 6th floor of the Centre Block.
No, provincially, not federally, though.
It is an exclusive jurisdiction. You must have an MP's invitation. It is heavily subsidized. I mean, it is a gourmet, first-class meal for the price of like going to a neighborhood restaurant. But here's the thing. It is so sugary and salty and flavorful. My point, Michael, being this. The MPs and the cabinet ministers will never deny themselves whatever delectation they want. But God forbid you and I want a little coffee and a shot. Oh boy, God, we get
This explains why there's a parliamentary brothel. Can I just have the camera a few moments? I want to say this to camera, it's very important. Those who make Red Bull, Ezra Levant and I need your help. We do consume it. If you'd like to send us huge amounts of Red Bull, or in fact ask us to advertise Red Bull on the show, contact Sun News. We'll be more than happy to do it. Now, but this is... Anyone understands if they have a brain cell, you don't drink too much of it. If you do, it'll make you ill.
Well, you know, the average cup of coffee, just going from memory, has about 50 grams of caffeine. This is 80 grams. So this is like a cup and a half of coffee.
Not that much.
Big deal. And that's my point, is if you're going to regulate this, because it's got 80 milligrams of caffeine, well, how about your local Tim Hortons, your local Starbucks, because they've got 50 grams.
Well, Mulrooney, was it 15, 20 cups of coffee a day or something. I mean, there are people who have coffee all day long.
You know, and each to their own taste. And, you know, myself, from my personal experience, you have too much, you get a little fidgety, whatever. But you know what? Anyone who's ever pulled an all-nighter, whether at work or if you're driving, you know, the place where I first discovered energy drinks was at every gas station, because folks who are driving at night, you know what, frankly, I'm sort of glad they're drinking this. You know what, I don't have any math or any statistics behind it, but I bet you that the amount of energy drinks, if it's Red Bull or something else, drunk on the road by highway driving, night driving guys, has probably saved lives. I'm not saying that this is a holy thing that we must support, but I bet you that keeping people up when they need to be kept up probably saves lives.
All right, camera again, please. I've worked on, while Ezra was speaking, he inspired me. Here's the ad, okay? So let's say you put $100,000 or more into the station, or you just give Ezra and I lots of Red Bull. I will do this. It's like an angel crying on your tongue. Yeah, so you are. It's plain common sense. Look, the state, the government is there to protect us from bad people who want to invade the country. It's to make sure that terror doesn't exist. If you want to talk about education and health, that's an open debate. It's a fair one to have. It's viable. But beyond that, by and large, go away.
Yeah. And, you know, seriously, what's the worst you're going to do if you have a little bit of extra caffeine? Be a little fidgety, not get to sleep that night?
Vote NDP?
I mean, I think that the state should protect us from other nations, from the violence of other people. That's where the criminal code comes in. But if you really want to have a drink of a caffeinated beverage, and my point is, why are they picking on this as opposed to your corner coffee shop? And again, there's a classism to it. There's a classism to it. Here's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger and every fancy person is on the cover of Cigar Aficionado magazine, puffing away, and they're celebrities.
Wouldn't be a cigarette, would it?
But that's a cigar.
Yeah.
But folks, and who smokes cigarettes? They're often working class folks, minorities, immigrants, newcomers, Aboriginal people. That's déclassé. That's lower class. That's too Walmart of you.
Ezra, take this and go away.
I hear that way too often, my friend. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers.